Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited you are joining me for the Clean Eating Kid group coaching program. We're going to be talking about how to get your kids on the clean eating train through their own free will, how to melt loads of inflammation from their bodies so that if they are experiencing a chronic symptom, we can begin to reverse that. And what to do if we just want to support our kids' general health and well-being. As you know, my name is Jenny Carr. I'm the international best-selling author of the book, Piece of Cake, The Secret to an Anti-Inflammatory Diet. You all have access to that free copy in your week 1 of this Kajabi Student Center. And my next book, The Clean Eating Kid, Grocery Store Swaps to an Anti-Inflammatory Diet. This is the welcome video where I'm going to touch on 5 really important points here so that I can better orient you into the program and really set you and your family up for success. No matter what, you guys, I wish that we were not virtual right now so I could give you an in-person hug, a great big high five, and congratulate you on showing up to do this work, both for yourself and your family. It is truly the greatest gift you can give anyone, and I don't say that lightly. Those of you who know my story know that I nearly died from chronic illness, autoimmune disease, major pathogen infections, and the reason I lived is because I knew how to not only adopt, but also maintain anti-inflammatory eating, anti-inflammatory living. That's one of the big gaps I see with people and programs and diets all the time is people can do this for a certain period of time, but they struggle maintaining it. And so the goal and the challenge of this course is to help you maintain that. Before we dive into the content too much, I want to share with you all my inspiration. My bugaboo, he's on the cover of this photo, Tosh Carr, and my daughter, Chloe, who is also in here. They are my inspiration for being a part or for writing this book. There's Chloe. A number of years ago, when Tosh was born, actually, so he's 10 currently when this video was made, and a number of years, or when he was first born, that first year, he was really sick. He had ear infections every other month. He was on antibiotics every other month for them. He had inflamed tonsils and adenoids that were chronically infected. In fact, the ear, nose, and throat doctor here locally said he had never seen a child with such severely infected and inflamed tonsils and adenoids. He had such a compromised immune system and so much chronic inflammation in his body that every live vaccine that was given to him, so the chicken pox, rotavirus in particular, he actually got the disease from. His body was so inflamed and the immune system was so compromised that it couldn't actually handle those live vaccines. Oh, he got rotavirus. We spent more time the first year of his life in hospitals, including the ICU, than we did for my entire maternity leave. So we spent months in and out of the hospitals. My doctor was on speed dial. We would have to check in with her hourly some days because his fever would be 104, 105. Antibiotics weren't working. There were 2 exact moments that it's hard to bring myself back there, but where I didn't think he was going to make it. One time he would again had all these infections. It was all respiratory issues because inflammation goes to the areas we're most susceptible, and we're talking more about that in the videos this week with the stickman figure. And so you'll learn more about that and how it's really probably affecting you in more ways than you realize, both you and your family. But Tosh's area that he was really susceptible to was in his respiratory, everything respiratory, ear, nose, and throat, right? And antibiotics weren't working. This one time he'd been sick for 3 months. They said he had walking pneumonia. It was just one thing after another. We went to specialists. We did everything. Antibiotics weren't working. They wanted to put him on inhalers and steroids, even though he didn't really have asthma. They couldn't figure out what it was. And what they they said, I went to bring him in because it didn't seem like the antibiotics was working, and he was very ill. He was having a hard time eating, drinking, high fever. They gave me a new set of antibiotics, and they said this should kick in the next 12 hours. And he was little. He was just barely walking. He was 1 year old. And I remember so vividly sitting at home watching him, and he went to get up to pick up a toy, and he started to walk towards me, and he collapsed. I didn't realize how sick he was. Talk about mom's guilt. He collapsed. And I remember immediately swooping him up, putting him in his car seat, driving to the hospital, which was like 25 minutes away, and turning to look at him. And I remember looking in his eyes, and it's like the life force was not there. It was just, there was nothing there. And it was the scariest moment. Long story short, we ended up spending a couple of weeks in the hospital, and this just continued. So if anyone can relate to having a child where there's some sort of chronic illness and the doctors can't figure out why it's happening, and you've been to specialists and doctors and you've done everything, and you're told to take all these medications, and maybe you're even taking them and they're not working, I get it. It is the most stressful thing to see your baby super ill and to not be able to help them. Oof. Sorry, was not planning on this. So that is why I created this book. What happens is, after many months of going back and forth, multiple surgeries, tons of medication, we actually had to go to Primary Children's Hospital, which is 5 hours away, for about a month and a half, stay there because he was so sick. We finally came home, and at this point in time, he was almost 2 years old. And he came home. The doctor said that he had to stay at home. His immune system wasn't strong enough to be out in the public or go to grocery stores. We had to do that for another 4 weeks. When he got back to his daycare, his preschool, after a few months, the teachers identified that he had a sensory condition. We thought it was the terrible twos. We didn't know it was our first child. But she said, no, this is a sensory condition. And it was so severe that a drop of water would land on his shirt, and he would scream and say, it hurts, Mommy, try and tear his shirt off. If I showed you outside, it's snow everywhere, right? We live in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It's very cold in the wintertime. And he needed multiple layers of clothes to put on to go outside at recess. But the feeling of multiple layers on top of him was absolutely more than his skin, the nerves in his skin, could handle. And so this sweet little boy who had all this energy and really needed to go outside and play would spend all of recess trying to get dressed, having meltdowns and crying and tantrums because it felt so uncomfortable. He struggled with ADD, with ADHD. He struggled with transitions. He had a difficult time communicating what was going on with his feelings and his emotions. Obviously, he felt very different from his peers, but he couldn't understand why. Neither did we, until he was diagnosed with a sensory condition, and we figured out what was going on with him. Paralleling this story, I had become very depressed after my son, during the duration of my son being super sick. I was a brand new mom. The first year and a half of my son's life was incredibly difficult. I was a teacher, a middle school and elementary school teacher for 7 years. And so I was trying to teach, and I had a son that was super, super sick. I was commuting over a mountain pass every day. Like, it was insane. It was crazy. I didn't know what inflammation was. I didn't really know what self-care was. I thought it just meant going and exercising. And so over the course of this time, I also got very ill with a lot of mystery chronic health conditions, with depression, and with I gained a lot of weight. I had a major hormonal imbalance, extreme fatigue. I wanted to go to bed at 5:30 or 6 every single night. A lot of bloating, joint pain, just really uncomfortable. I didn't feel good. I was nauseous all the time. And the doctors actually tested me for cancer. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. But then they came back saying, you're getting some sort of autoimmune condition. We don't know what kind, but this is what's happening. Chronic inflammation, lots of inflammation in the body. So long story short, my mom had healed herself for the first time in over 20 years from chronic Lyme. She had 4 strains of chronic Lyme. And she told me about this anti-inflammatory health coach, and she said, I've done everything, Western medicine, alternative medicine, everything to heal. This is the only thing that is helping my symptoms go away. I'm losing weight and I feel great. You have to try it. And at the time, inflammation was not a buzzword. It was not something we knew a lot about, but I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. Why not? Let's learn how to start swapping out the inflammatory foods for options that taste similar but don't inflame. Let's drink more water, right? And sure enough, I started to feel amazing. Now, it took me a long time to get on the clean eating train and to maintain this way of eating. I tell everyone I did all the hard work for you guys. I learned the easy methods now that I teach you guys to make it much easier. But it is amazing what it did. You guys, all my chronic symptoms went away. I lost weight, my hormones balanced, everything. But the pot of gold was really how good I felt mentally and emotionally. I was grounded. I had so much more patience with Tosh, with my students, with my husband, my less brain fog. Like, life felt really, really good. So when my son was diagnosed with a sensory condition, I thought to myself, well, it helped my mom with Lyme. It helped me with my mystery autoimmune. I wonder if eating this way, following the protocol that I now teach, swapping out the top 5 inflammatory ingredients for options that taste similar but don't inflame, drinking more water, I wonder if that would do anything for Tasha's sensory condition. I had no idea. So I said, all right, I'm going to do a 2-week science experiment because I know it takes 2 weeks to push inflammation out of your body from these top inflammatory foods. And Tosh would come home and he'd eat really well. But at school or at birthday parties, right, he'd eat plenty of foods that were inflammatory. I made a commitment, and I'm going to invite you to do this at some point during this during the course of this program, not right off the bat, but this was my inspiration. I made a commitment for 2 weeks that I would pack Tosh breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, and snacks. Everything he ate, whether it was at a party, it was at school, it was at home, it was at grandma and grandpa's, it didn't matter. Everything for 2 weeks was going to be free of these top inflammatory ingredients. Sure enough, within 2 weeks, his sensory condition was significantly improved, and within 2 months, it was 85% better. So here I am. I'm a teacher at the time, and I am thinking to myself, I was working like 60-hour weeks, crazy hours, and I'm thinking, my life is significantly impacted for the best when I follow this way of eating, as is my son's. I am so busy. I feel like I'm drowning. How in the world can I maintain this way of eating without feeling overwhelmed or deprived? How do I make sure my kid doesn't have food issues and can feel included in social situations and celebrations? He can still eat ice cream or cake, but without experiencing the inflammation from those foods. And that became my thesis question, so to speak. It became my life's journey, my life's purpose, and it's why I wrote all of the amazing recipes in the back of my book. We've got bread, and that one, that's not quite as comfort foods, but most of these are really comfort food. Look at this, is a strawberry milkshake smoothie. We've got cookies and lemon bars and cupcakes, right? That is why I wrote these recipes, and it's why I walk you through in the back of the Clean Eating Kid. I walk you through grocery store swaps that you can buy at the grocery store. Hello, you can buy cookies at the grocery store that are free of the top inflammatory foods. Snacks and, oh my gosh, chocolate. I opened up the right page, didn't I? Sauces, condiments, muffins, cakes, bars, cereal, bread, you name it, I have it in here. Cheeses, yogurt, ketchup, right? Salad dressing, mayonnaise, like ice cream. I show you how to swap out these inflammatory foods, and that's what this program is all about. So I wanted you to understand The why, this is the longest video, the welcome video. I promise it will not normally, the videos are very short in this program, generally speaking, but I really want you to understand or be inspired, hopefully, by the story of my healing, my mom's healing, my son's healing, and now the thousands of people who I have helped to reverse or significantly improve their chronic health conditions by following the steps in this program that you are about to embark on. So congratulations. Ultimately, you guys, this program is called the Clean Eating Kid, but it's really for the entire family. We cannot ask our children to change if we don't also change. If you read my book, it's called The Clean Eating Kid, and in the first chapter, I talk about how actually this book is for the parents first, and then for the children second. There's a famous quote by Gandhi that says, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." And I've modified that slightly to say, "Be the change you wish to see in your family." We first must walk through this process ourselves, and this is absolutely key, so that we understand what it feels like to be detoxing and to have that craving hit, and we know exactly what to do to stop the craving in its track. When we know that and we've created a habit of doing it for ourselves, it's so much more easy to recognize when that's happening for our children, get them the support they need, and to have a conversation with them so they know how to move on. It is really, really crucial. So the way this program is set up, the videos in each of the weeks are typically 5, sometimes 15 minutes. They're typically 5 to 15 minutes. And within each of those videos, there are little action steps, little mini goals for you to do each week. Typically, we're swapping out one inflammatory food at a time. Some weeks we're not touching food. We're just looking at movement or breathing or detoxing. This is a 10-week program. You get 10 weeks, those of you in the Clean Eating Kid. But really, there's only 8 weeks of video content with little mini action steps and goals. The week 9 is a bonus week, and week 10 is just a week to breathe, right? Sometimes we just need a breather week, especially when we're helping to implement this for our kids. So my recommendation is that you start a week or two ahead, you practice this, and then you begin implementing with your children. So again, the way the videos are formatted, the first part is the content, the information that will apply to both you and your children. And then the second half of the videos will be called the Clean Eating Kid Tip. And those are specifically how to apply the information you just learned for your family, for your kids. It's for your kids, but it could be applied to anyone. Okay. I've got my notes on my phone here. I want to make sure I'm covering everything. Yes, there are 2 unique paths on this that I want to make sure you guys understand. There are some people who will join this program because they have chronic health issues, both either for themselves, typically parents of children with chronic health issues also have chronic health issues, whether it's genetic predisposition or just the habitual kind of patterns within a family that have to do with diet and lifestyle, which cause inflammation. It could be due to stress, to not enough sleep. So we want to take care of the entire family. That is why you're here. And there's also some people who are wanting to just experience the best health that they can. They feel fine, but they're doing preventative health work. They know nutrition is important, and they just want to learn how they can best support their kids to feel even better, have more energy, feel more vibrant, think more clearly, be focused at school, support their athletic endeavors. 2 different paths, right? We're going to be doing the same thing, but the mentality is slightly different. So again, path 1 is someone who has a chronic health condition, maybe more serious type of chronic health condition. Path number 2 is someone maybe they could just get a little tune up and they just want to learn how to eat really well. Okay. And we'll be talking about those 2 different paths. But if you're in the chronic health condition journey path, then really trying to apply this with as much integrity and alignment as possible, if only even for that 2-week challenge, which we will get to later in the program. Give it a chance so that you can really see the results. Sometimes an 80-20 diet, 80% clean, 20% not clean, if you have a real chronic health condition that has caused you to do other things beyond diet, environmental toxins, pathogens, there's other factors also causing inflammation. If that's the case, then closing the 20% gap of inflammatory foods and drinks has been the absolute key to creating unbelievable magic, indescribable health, reversing chronic health conditions, regenerating cells in the body. Closing that 20% gap is sometimes the deal breaker. It makes a huge difference, okay? So I just want to plant that seed. We don't have to be perfect, definitely not at the beginning, but during this program at some point in time, if not the entire time, at least at some point in time, make a love commitment to yourself, a love promise that you and your family will do 2 weeks of complete integrity, complete alignment, swapping out all of these top inflammatory foods. If you are someone who's like, actually, my family doesn't have chronic health conditions, we feel amazing, we just are really active, we're just interested in nutrition, trying to learn the best we can, then in your case, if you can, by all means, do 100% alignment for 2 weeks. It will allow your body to speak to you so you can actually feel what it feels like to be free of inflammation. It is the most incredible feeling. And for those people who fall into the second pathway, an 80-20 diet might just be amazing for you, okay? We can talk more about this in the Facebook group, but I just wanted to let you know there's kind of two paths and mindsets around the way to approach this program based off of what's going on with your body. Okay. Many of the Clean Eating Kid tips in the weekly videos have food swaps, specific food swaps that are specific for kids. So I will give you or talk to you about different food swaps. Also, in our Facebook group, if you haven't joined, do that right now. Hit pause, join the Facebook group. I am telling you, it is the most rich resource, the most loving, supportive, unbelievably incredible community. Just truly such a huge part of this program. And if you, in the search box, type in food swaps, we have over 50 or 60 different grocery store food swaps that will pop up. If you type in recipes in the search bar, there will be probably another 60 plus to 100 or more, couple hundred, depending on when you join, recipes that show up. You can even search, I have a cold, or use that search box like a Google search. And there's a lot of information that will pop up. So I just wanted to mention that. I think I told you that week 9 is a bonus week. Every month we bring in guest presenters, as you probably know if you read the welcome email. These guest presenters are practitioners, world-renowned health coaches, life coaches, experts in healing holistically. And so I bring them in because when I am on this healing journey, right? Diet is key. Diet is huge. It will make or break our healing journey. And there's a lot of other things we can do to support our body depending on what's going on. So from biohacking of the ancients to modern day biohacking, how to heal when you have experienced a lot of trauma and how that impacts our body, to self-love and self-care, which sounds very cheesy. Like we really break that down. What does that look like as a caregiver? There are so many different guest presenters, and all of those from the past and present are in your week 9 Kajabi Student Center, as well as videos on how to maintain anti-inflammatory eating while on the road, traveling, going out to eat. So it's loaded, it's packed, it's amazing. Be sure to check it out. Whew, okay. I believe that is it for our welcome video. Like I said, we are at 24 minutes and this is the longest video you will receive. I love the feeling of crossing things off the list. So all of my videos are short little videos that you can cross off the list, watch quickly, cross off the list with a little tiny action step or takeaway that goes with it. So thank you again. I'm so excited you're here in this group. I'm so honored that you're here. Please hop into the Facebook group, say hello, introduce yourself. Tell me what you want to get out of this program, and be sure to do your Stickman figure, which you're going to learn about here in week 1, and share that in the group too. All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.